Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, today is this the second Thursday of the month? I'm so confused. I believe it is, which means it's time to debut a brand new show. It is called Vegan Doc Talk with Dr. Scott Harrington. He will answer your questions if you send them in advance. All you have to do is every Sunday, we send you an email announcing who is going to be on the show for the week. You just simply respond to it with the name of the person who the question is for. One short question per email, please. If you don't get that email, well, then I guess you're going to have to subscribe to chefaj.com. I'll put the link below because we can't take them from the chat when it's a doctor. There's just too many questions, so hope you'll understand. Now, Dr. Scott Harrington has been on the show before, but in case you didn't see that episode, he'll tell a little bit about himself. He's awesome, and he has licenses, I think, like in almost every state, and he's probably going to eventually have them in every state. And I think it's really important if you're vegan, plant-based, or just anyone to, even if you have a doctor you like, to have somebody on your team that understands the unique being of being a vegan, especially me, 45 years. It's like when I go to a regular doctor, they treat it as if it's some kind of disease. So I think until you've had a vegan and lifestyle medicine doctor, you haven't had a doctor. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Scott Harrington. It's so good to see you again.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Chef AJ, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. And thank you for allowing me to be on the show. I'm really stoked. We're going to do Vegan Talk every second Thursday, and it's going to be a blast. I've created a presentation, so we're going to kind of go through this presentation today, and then afterwards have a question and answer period, because that's the part that I think is the most fun, actually.
That sounds great. Make sure you tell people who you are, because you seem to come out of nowhere, and then now you're everywhere.
Well, yeah, I have it on my presentation, but I have a practice called Vegan Primary Care, and I have in-person practice in Palm Harbor, Florida, Dunedin, and Pinellas Park, Florida, in the kind of the Tampa area. But I have lots of licenses, so I can reach out and be your primary care doctor online through, at this time, 29 states. So it's been great, and I've been able to reach out to lots of vegans and be their primary care doctor.
I have heard of people that have told me they found you on my show and they are patients now and they're very happy.
Right. It's birds of a feather. We have to stick together. And I hear stories just like you're saying, people going to a doctor and the doctors are, rolling their eyes and asking them where they get their protein. And, oh, I don't know if that'd be a good idea if you go on a vegan diet, or, not knowing how to handle patients' labs when they come back and there's some B12 deficiencies and that kind of thing. So it's been a real blessing being able to be a vegan doctor and reaching out and having vegan practice, because I'm just getting to support the vegan community.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, when they don't understand it, they treat it like it's something abnormal. And from my understanding, when you're healthy, your labs might look different because labs are designed for people that are unhealthy. Like those numbers are what they're used to seeing, people that are couch potatoes eating the standard American diet. So when they say our HDL is low, well, yeah, it's low because our total cholesterol is low,
Oh my gosh. A classic one for that is having low white blood cell count, because you're not inflamed. Or mildly low platelets, another sort of marker of inflammation, stuff like that. It can get you sent to a specialist, a blood doctor, just because you're vegan.
Yeah, that's why you have to have one on your team. I'm convinced. Well, I can't wait to see your presentation because I'm a visual learner. And when there's slides, I pay attention.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to try to do this technical thing here. I'm going to try to share my screen. And so you got to give me feedback if it's working or not here.
Absolutely. And Susanna, who's watching live, says she loves the name Vegan Primary Care. No question about what you're going to get. Yeah, that looks good. Just make it. Yep, that's exactly right. Nice photo.
All right. So this is me. Yeah. So just, real quick about the practice. This isn't, only just a plug about my practice, but, I can see you online or in person in many, many US states. I got to tell you, telemedicine is really nice. You don't have to stress and go through traffic and everything. It's nice just to have quick access and boom, you're right there in the comfort of your own home. I can send labs and referrals and that sort of thing. These are all the states that I'm in, 29 states. So uh, you know, where I can reach out to millions of vegans, honestly. We have several insurance companies, so Aetna, Cigna, Tricare, and Medicare. So those are the credentials that I have with those various insurance companies. And just if you have Blue Cross or United Health, and I'm trying to get these companies, but if you don't happen to have them, I can see you as a cash pay patient for $75 for a 30-minute visit and $150 for a 1-hour initial visit and getting to know you. And by keeping our costs low, we're striving to be affordable and accessible to everyone out there.
That is totally reasonable. And that's what Dr. Doug Lyle charges. That is completely reasonable, if you ask me.
Awesome. So just to, for the next several months here with Chef AJ, she's invited me on. We're going to do Vegan Doc Talk. Because I'm family medicine and also lifestyle medicine certified, I thought I would talk sort of the overall arching concept of my lectures will be something related to the pillars of lifestyle medicine. So the quick pearls, and then a Q&A session at the end. Once again, that's always a lot of fun. I love hearing your questions, and I think you'll love it too. So today we are going to talk about something special, something a little different, and this is called the Vegan Hero's Journey. So, man, what's up with this Vegan Hero's Journey? So it is the month of January, and people are talking about New Year's resolutions. And this Vegan Hero's Journey is about taking hold of a major change in your life, and how you're going to transform over the next year. And so I thought I would talk about the Vegan Hero's Journey, the journey of transformation. So what made me think about this? Well, when you're doing lifestyle medicine studies, or as a doctor who's learning about change, or as a coach, they tell you about the stages of change, contemplation, preparation, action. The problem with this, I honestly feel like, is that this is geared towards coaches and professionals and physicians, and it's kind of a time-saving tool. So if they find that, they're in contemplation, give them more reasons why, they should make a change. And so it's not really geared towards helping the patient necessarily. So I like to think that you're on a journey. You're on an epic journey. And this relates to a man named Joseph Campbell, who wrote A Hero with 1,000 Faces, and he coined this hero's journey. And so I like to think about it like this, because when you're on a journey, you're getting somewhere and you're going to transform. You're never going to be able to go back. You're changing, and you're not alone in your struggle. And usually the hero wins. That's another thing. I like to think that there's no going back, and we're going to make a change, and we're going to overcome. So just briefly, this is Joseph Campbell. He traveled around the world and realized that the myths and stories written by different cultures have many similarities, and they kind of meet this hero's journey. He wrote a book, Heroes with 1,000 Faces, and coined the term "follow your bliss." Now, you may have heard about this. You may have heard that many feature films, movies have been adapted to fit this hero's journey. You may have, Star Wars, Harry Potter, many stories have this. What is the hero's journey? Well, you have the call to adventure. The hero is trying to be brought on this journey, or maybe they're refusing the call. I'm not ready to go. I'm asleep. I'm comfortable in where I don't want to make this change. Well, if once you start the call, you heed the call, there are mentors along the way, and aids and talismans and tools and wands and things that people use, tips and tricks that help people along the way. You'll see that in this little schematic, you go from the known, comfortable world into the unknown. And so thinking about these things as analogies helps you put labels on things and helps you along the way. And you say, oh, I know this was coming because they said it in the hero's journey. There's facing your fears and hitting dark points, and that will happen in your story. And then ultimately, that you're going to transform, you're going to make a big change, and you're going to bring what you've learned back to the community. And so, look, we are vegan heroes and heroines, and we are all on a journey of transformation. I know that your audience, Chef AJ, is people from all, spectrum of, lots of different coaches and folks who are learning about veganism and everything. Everyone, the cool thing about the hero's journey is it kind of works for everybody. It works for wherever you are on this journey, and whether you're a mentor or whether you're trying to make a big health change. And we're all striving to be healthy. We want to improve our health, and so that we can shine our lights, we can lead by example, and so that we can spread the word about how veganism can help the environment, can help avoid animal suffering, and help you reduce your health risks. And then once we sort of achieve and we transform and we're never looking back, we can support others and we can bring others along the journey. So one big thing when you're making a big change, of course, is to find your why. And I've put this into 3 realms here: the realm of the self, the realm of the family, and the realm of your outside self or community. And so if you're trying to make a big health change, you may want to think about, I want to be more vital or more productive. I want my earning years to be longer. I want to feel freedom. I want to be freedom from illness. Or maybe it's because I want to live a long time so I can support my family and make sure they're healthy and avoid health problems in my family. Or maybe it's maybe your why is because of environmentalism or due to animal rights. The stakes are high, folks. The stakes are high. Whether it's your weight, whether it's blood pressure and diabetes, maybe you have been faced with a heart attack or a cancer diagnosis. This is when sort of this call to the adventure of health kind of punches you in the face in a way, like it comes to you. And sometimes you might be refusing the call, refusing to change, and then all of a sudden it's right there on your lap. So it's very important, but it's not just important for you. It also, your healthy change can make a change in regards to helping to end animal suffering, helping the climate, because forest destruction to make room for animal farming causes greenhouse gases, and it's hurting our environment. And this I basically stole from Dr. Greger and Dr. McDougall, was the idea of the wet markets and how some of the viruses have evolved and pandemics have evolved in these areas of high dense populations of factory farmed animals. And so the idea of us all needing to be vegan and bringing as many people along as possible has so many overarching reasons to do it. So I want to talk about my journey and then think about your journey. When in 2012 is when I made the change to the vegan diet. And I was a family doctor in the Army, and they make you run in the Army, and I was gaining a little weight and my run time was going down. And I started to try to lose weight by portion control and eating a high protein diet, which we know does not work. Chef AJ will kind of let you know about that. But I was, as a doctor, I would tell my patients to lose weight, and nobody seemed to be able to lose weight. And I just was prescribing more pills and everything. And I started to sort of hit this rock bottom, like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad doctor. So this was my sort of old life. And I had actually heard the message. My mom actually showed me Starch Solution when I was really young. And I had read the book by Robbins, the 100 Healthy at 100, and I had been exposed to it. But one of the PAs who I worked with told me to watch Forks Over Knives. And I really respected this physician's assistant. And I watched Forks Over Knives, and it changed me right there. I saw it. I basically saw the light. But in the hero's journey, if you're in your comfortable life, and you've got the call to change. Think about what are you refusing the call? What aspects of your health, what in your life have someone tried to tell you to do a dry January, and it's January and you're like, I'm not sure if I want to do that, or I'm not ready, not me, not now. Think about the things in your healthy, the realm of health that you might be saying, not me, not now, because actually these are the things that may be the direction you need to go. So this is how the hero's journey kind of helps us out in our own mental psychology. What healthy behavior changes are you refusing to do? So in the stories, the hero will have a refusal to the call. So here's, I think it was Bilbo Baggins, and this is like the Lord of the Rings journey. I might have that wrong, but he's reading the fine print and deciding whether he wants to go or not. But if you're refusing this healthy behavior, you might be gaining weight, rationalizing. This might be in your comfort zone. So what can help break you out of that? A mentor can help break you out. And this in the stories, there's always a mentor. And for us, our mentors are like Chef A. Here's some quotes from some of my mentors. So if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. That's what Chef AJ says. And Chef AJ, please correct me if the origin of that one. But Dr. McDougall, he says people love to hear good news about their bad habits. And Dr. Greger, one of my favorites from Dr. Greger is, how moderate do you want your diabetes? Start today and don't go moderate, go all the way. Okay, as we're moving along the hero's journey, we talk about our mentors getting us tips and tricks. And in the stories, it's the talismans, the force, the lightsabers, the wands, the magic. For me, it was the whole food plant-based diet, and after watching Forks Over Knives. But there are a lot of tools, there are lots of talismans and magic out there, and that are, for instance, things like Chef AJ's Free Ultimate Reboot, or PCRM's Vegan Kickstart, nutritionfacts.org, and Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, Chronometer, food logs, things like this, and tools like the nonstick mats for no oil cooking, and things like the Instant Pot. Okay, let's say you've heeded the call, you are on your journey and you are starting to do a vegan diet. Well, there are threshold guardians. And so this is to be expected. These are the family members who might be scared of what you're going to do, that you might not be getting enough protein, or the idea is that you're identifying, you're like, oh, Dr. Harrington told me that I was going to make this change, and that there was going to be something that was going to be right in the beginning that was going to try to stop me on my journey. And so think about it and see how these threshold guardians, don't be thrown off track, be prepared so you're not surprised or taken off guard. So in the hero's journey, there are obstacles and tests, and a series of challenges. And so I thought I'd just briefly go over, when you're on a vegan journey, there are some barriers and some quick solutions. We're going to use three areas to think about: barriers from yourself, your family, or friends. And so some examples of this, a barrier, your own test might be overwhelm, or too much to do, I don't think I can manage it, or all or nothing thinking, like, if I'm going to eat grandma's meatloaf or something, and I can't do this, or something like that. Family, people feeling overwhelmed that if I have to make a change, my family's going to have to make a change, and I can't change my family, so I just won't do it. Or things like, oh man, I'm going to be at the restaurant and I'm going to get, people are going to try to sabotage me, and they're going to, or I'm not going to be able to eat at a restaurant, for example. So I hate just to read lists and things like this, but these are some examples of some tools and tips and tricks in regarding to each one of these kind of areas. For overwhelm, an example is to keep it simple. Keep it simple, like I heard Dr. Goldhammer the other day when he was asked about what's a good way for a diet? What do you recommend? He was like, oatmeal for breakfast, a salad for lunch with some beans on the side, and steamed vegetables and a potato for dinner. Boom, boom, you're done. So keep it simple. You don't have to be overwhelmed. Okay, here are some tips for family. You don't have to worry about changing others. Just shine your light. Be the one that picks up the mantle and moves forward, and people will see from your success and your healthy, your vibrance, and they'll want to come with you. And an example of some of these problems with the social gatherings is at restaurants, just eat the side dishes. Ask the chef to hold the oil. Pre-eat and avoid alcohol so you won't slip up and make a wrong move. So those are some examples. Okay, we're getting towards the end on the hero's journey. The hero has fought the challenges, and they're facing their biggest fears, some of the challenges that they have to face that they really don't want to face. They really don't want to face. And that's the thing, when you are on the hero's journey, when you meet the hardest challenges, you hit the highest wall, fighting Darth Vader. Sometimes Darth Vader wins. And the first time that Luke fights Darth Vader chops his hand off. And so there can be a struggle. So the concept is just because you have some setbacks, don't quit, keep going. You're going to hit the swamp of failure. You're going to hit a dark point. But just know that failure is not final, and know that this can come and this can happen. And this is the time where you need to reach out to others. Don't suffer in silence. Get help and keep moving forward. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Move it one step at a time. But know that when you're trying to make a big change, that is when you have the biggest transformation. Oftentimes is when you're facing your biggest fears or biggest challenge. Okay. One of the reasons why I really like the hero's journey versus the stages of change is the idea of the stages of change. They're always talking about relapse. Oh, you're falling back in, you're falling back along the stages of change, but not when you're on a vegan hero's journey. You're transformed. I mean, I walk down the meat aisle at the store and I'm grossed out. Like, there's no going back. If I was told tomorrow that meat was super healthy for me, I wouldn't all of a sudden want to cause that suffering on animals and that kind of thing. That when you're on a hero's journey, that you are literally transformed. So once you are transformed, once you defeat the dragon and you have the treasure, you can't keep the treasure for yourself. You have to give the treasure away. You have to take what you've learned and you have to mentor others. And so I joke around, with people, hey, I'm the Yoda. I'm helping you out. We're working together, and I get to be your mentor. So on the vegan journey, not only are you the hero, but sometimes you're the mentor. Sometimes you're the person who's helping others. So just take a moment, in your final form, you've completely transformed. You've gone from someone who's, thinking about veganism, and you've started the diet, and you've overcome the challenges of the self, the family, and the friends. And then now you're teaching others about it. And so here are people who, I joke around, they're in their final form. These people have really become vegan heroes and heroines. And so you have folks like Tabitha Brown. These people are famous, the ones on the top, Tabitha Brown or Greta Thunberg, the vegan environmentalist, or the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, is a vegan. He's a politician who's plant-based, and he's helping to enact different legislation stuff in the city of New York, vegan policies. But in my local areas around Tampa, these are some people who've affected me in my life, have been inspirational. First off, we have Mike Young. He sets up veg fests all throughout the Southeast, and he's been very inspirational to me. And he's got lots of things going on, including a certification for food, the Certified Healthy Vegan Food. And he does vegan meetups, and he's very inspirational. Shannon Blair, the picture in the middle, she is a vegan animal rights advocate, and she's a mentor for AAM, Animal Activism Mentorship, where you can have someone for free sign up, and they will mentor you in terms of animal rights activism. You go to the animalsneedyou.com, animals need you, and you can sign up to get that kind of training, which is really awesome. And another person who I met at Veg Fest was Fab the Vegan. He has lost over 100 pounds and with the whole food plant-based diet, and he's telling people about it, and he's just very inspirational. So yeah, these are vegan heroes and heroines, and you can be one too. And your vegan journey, your journey of health relates to is not just you, it's for others as well. Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. That is my talk today about Vegan Hero's journey. And I'll be back every month, every second Thursday, to talk about a pillar of lifestyle medicine. And now I'm hoping to listen to your questions and answer some questions.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Harrington. That was a great presentation. And maybe you can tell people how you became vegan in case they didn't see the last episode.
Right. So yes, on my journey, when I was kind of struggling there, working with patients, I was gaining weight, 1 or 2 pounds a year. And in the Army, they make you run. So my run time was going down, and I knew I needed to lose weight. So I tried to starve myself with small portions, like I told my patients, and eating like high protein diets. And I couldn't lose a single pound. I couldn't lose weight at all this way, because it's really a horrible way to try to lose weight. It's not sustainable. And that's when I saw the movie Forks Over Knives, and I went cold carrot all the way, no meat, cheese, eggs, or fish. And my health improved so much. Acne went away, blood pressure, blood sugar improved, constipation resolved, even my testosterone went up. And so at that point, I joked around that even if you stub your toe, I recommend the plant-based diet for your toe.
we call that going cold tofurkey.
Cold tofurkey, absolutely. Yeah. And it's the best way to do it, because then you feel the most benefit.
Since you're not working like, I guess, a traditional hospital setting, Linda wanted to know if you've been able to influence other doctors, but are you even, working with other doctors?
At this time, I'm not. As soon as I basically hit my max, right now we have about 1,100 patients. After about 1,500 patients, I'm going to have to expand and improve and have other folks in vegan primary care practice. So, we're at our second year mark. We just hit our second year, and things are moving right along. And but I love it when vegan doctors reach out to me, because we need to be able to support each other and grow. Sometimes I kind of feel like a lone ranger. Shouldn't be that way. One day all doctors will be vegan, I think. But right now we really have to stick together.
Wouldn't that be cool if that was a prerequisite? Okay, so the questions. The first one is from Amanda, and I like this question because instead of just being about like her particular illness, it's such a good question, because I think a lot of people have this question, which is, do you have any additional lab work that you recommend for us vegans besides the standard complete blood count and comprehensive metabolic panel, maybe vitamin and mineral panels? That's a good question.
Yeah, so this is a kind of standard thing. The short answer is no, you don't actually need that much. You don't need that much different labs, because you can garner a lot of information from the basic labs, like the comprehensive metabolic panel, which is the cheapest and most basic test, and the comprehensive complete blood count. These things will let you know whether you're anemic or the size and shape of the cells. So oftentimes you can infer a great deal from these basic labs. You can include B12. I definitely include B12. And if there's any concern there or slightly low, then we can do the other things, the methylmalonic acid or homocysteine. These are the sort of the more accurate way to establish B12 deficiency. But honestly, the goal is to minimize and not do a ton of labs and procedures and pills and potions. The goal is to try to kind of step back from that. And so I know I wish there was more mystery about it, but honestly, less is more in general.
Fantastic. Thanks. This next question's from Danny. I've been whole food plant-based 2 years. I eat a variety of veggies, fruits, greens. I hit the gym 4 to 5 days a week, swimming, walking, cardio, and circuit training. In the morning, my calves are very tight as I wake up, so I stretch my legs, also rotate and paddle my ankles and massage my calves. It helps some. Why are my calves so tight in the morning, and what will help with the tightness?
Okay, well, I mean, it really goes to what you might be doing. Especially if you're all of a sudden increasing your mileage or, increasing it to a great extent, your body usually gets used to things and it adapts really well. So if you are working that specific muscle, like way more than the other muscles, that might seem reasonable. But I doubt that you're having any type of electrolyte disturbance or anything like that. Sometimes people deal with like nighttime cramps, nocturnal cramps. And you'll hear about the people using quinine and stuff for this, but unfortunately, quinine can make people at risk for having arrhythmias. But things that are typically told, like magnesium and this kind of stuff, and potassium, in general, are not evidence-based in terms of like cramp prevention at night. What you need to do if you're having cramps at night is just, walk around, stretch before bed. I know this is not exactly the answer to your question, but muscle cramps at night is sort of the related typical concern. And yep, that's one of the things they'll tell people to do is simply walk around, make sure you're fed and you're not dehydrated and that kind of thing.
What about maybe seeing a physical therapist? We have one on every month, Eileen Kapsoftis, and people have been doing virtual appointments with her and saying she's fantastic.
That is a great idea. Yeah, any of the movement-based therapies, Tai Chi, stretching, massage, physical therapy, all that stuff is great.
Yep. There's a spray that's a magnesium spray that for night calves,
Oh,
you can spray it. It's, I don't know. I haven't gotten those in a long time, but you just spray it and it supposedly helps. So thank you. This is from Lynn, and she says, are you still treating virtual patients? And what do you think of Humana as insurance coverage for virtual? I did see you once when I had regular Medicare.
Okay, Humana and Humana Military. I was wanted to get TRICARE and Humana Military because of my military background. Turns out if you have TRICARE Prime or the HMO aspect of TRICARE, you cannot have me unless you're within 100 miles of my office in Florida. You can have me as a consultant, just not as a primary care doctor, as an HMO. So you have to see if I would show up on your plan, and unfortunately, I don't think so. But I can be seen. They'll pay for my visits, but they wouldn't pay for things like referrals if you have an HMO.
Okay. Well, thanks. And like I said, your rates are so reasonable that I would think many people would be able to afford that 30-minute session.
Yeah.
Yep. So Karen says, I have to take iron supplements for lifelong anemia. The doctor suggested heme iron supplements as other patients have had success with them. They are bovine and porcine derived. Are these safe? And then I would add, whether they're safe or not, is there a non-animal way that she could take that? And when she says lifelong anemia, wouldn't somebody be able to figure out at some point why she has lifelong anemia?
Good point. Always treat the cause. Always treat the cause. Of course, menstrual losses of iron is like the biggest kind of cause oftentimes in female population. So, fibroids and heavy menstrual losses. But yes, you can simply switch to from animal-based heme iron into a I like Floradix. I tell people the Floradix brand or the Flora Vital brands. These are plant-based options for iron supplementation. Now, they're not going to be as high as the standard ferrous sulfate tablets, The problem is with this iron is that it makes you, it hurts your GI tract, and it makes you constipated, and it can upset your stomach. So iron supplementation is a big topic, and it's a big kind of vegan topic, because other doctors might kind of overtreat you with iron. And so honestly, the goal is to get just up to where you need. You don't really want to be over treating, because iron is actually toxic. And hello.
I don't know what's been with her lately. She just seems to have to get in on every show lately as my.
Well, I'm happy about that.
I call her, I've been telling every doctor that I think pets are the seventh pillar of lifestyle medicine.
I love it. I love it. We definitely need to add it. I know my dog decreases my blood pressure.
I know.
That's right.
They're amazing.
Well,
Sorry.
so with the iron, yeah. So things like molasses and stuff have iron and stuff. But what you can switch to a once every other day treatment of iron with iron, and you get about the same absorption. And that is because the body will literally start to block some of the iron absorption, because it can be toxic. So treat the cause, always treat the cause. If it's heavy menstrual losses, you can see your doctor to try to stop the menstrual losses, their birth control and things like this, or first look to ways to try to stop the losses. And that makes it so you don't have to hit the supplementation so hard, because it's really rough on the GI tract.
Yep. Thank you. This is from Jackie. How do you ensure optimal levels of iodine on a vegan plant-based diet?
Okay. Iodine, iodine is great for thyroid health. And the standard way most people are getting iodine is in fortified foods or through iodized salt. And ideally we're trying to eat a salt, oil, and sugar-free diet, SOS free. So we don't really want to be adding a bunch of salt to our diet. If you do have salt, I recommend obviously get the iodized salt and not like various Himalayan salts that are non-iodized, because you only need 2 pinches for 150 micrograms, which is a daily dose. You can eat sea vegetables like nori sheets and dulse and like seaweed salad and things like this. But if you happen to not really like that too much, you could do 2 pinches of the salt, or you could do a supplement that is specifically for iodine. But the way that non-vegans get it is or people who eat dairy is through the betadine and iodine that they put on the udders to sanitize the udders. And so you get sort of byproduct, you get iodine in the milk, which is kind of gross, because it kind of, thinks about sanitation of milk and stuff is kind of gross. But that's how I recommend doing it. Eat 1 to 2 servings a week of either sea vegetables. Kelp. Kelp is too strong. It is too much. Small servings of kelp can be too high of iodine and actually can cause your thyroid to be flared up. So either 2 pinches of salt or 2 servings of the sea vegetables per week.
Thank you. This question from Lori, it's kind of an ethics question, but since you're a vegan and an ethical one as well, I'll give it to you and see if you can answer. She says, if everybody went vegan and factory farming was no longer being practiced, what would be the purpose of cattle, pigs, chickens, and sheep? Would they serve other purpose, such as feeding obligate carnivores like my cat? And would they be raised strictly for their manure for farming vegetables and other crops? I always hear that from people like, well, we got to hunt the deer or they'll who can solve these ethic questions?
Right. We need an ethicist right now. It's kind of like I joke around a little bit, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a carpenter or something. But no, really, we help each other with these ethical questions. There's a big group of people who talk about ruminant animals as part of a healthy ecosystem. And they would suggest that doing away with these animals could actually hurt the environment. And of course, I'd have to learn more about that. But it's unlikely that sort of the farming practices that you see on the side of the milk carton, where it's the happy cow, and it's the one cow in the yard as opposed to thousands in these feedlots. It's kind of a different story. But yeah, so it's not that we would do away with cows and pigs and everything. We would just, there would be not a need for them to be used in that way.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure you've heard this question before, and this is from Anonymous because it's about stinky gas. And Anonymous doesn't want anyone to know their name, but don't be embarrassed because this is a question a lot of people have, especially when they're first transitioning. And Anonymous says, I've been eating a whole food plant-based diet for a while now, but I'm still struggling with really bad gas. It's embarrassing because they're really, well, stinky. I was wondering if you had any advice, and I was wondering if I would be permitted to take Beano or something to help alleviate the issue. I really don't like taking any sort of medications or supplements.
This comes up a lot where people will have kind of change in the smell of their gas. And, you know, I love talking about poop and gas and stuff like this because it's a huge topic, and your poop and it kind of can be a barometer of your health, because we should be having large soft stools every day, ideally even more than once. And so we should be eating such a robust, large, voluminous plant-based diet loaded with fiber that we have this every day, soft stools that you can have a bowel movement faster than you urinate. And so, but what's up with gas? So usually I think of gas as some sort of change. You've changed your diet, and it's caused incomplete digestion by your microbes, so that, and you know, we're human. We're not eating like a robot, eating the exact same constituents of our food every day. There's going to be some subtle changes. There's going to be a little bit more cruciferous, or, you know, a little bit more beans, or, you know, there's going to be some changes. And sometimes it can kind of overwhelm the microbes, and you can have some, you know, changes in the gas and the smell of the gas. So my biggest thing I'm trying to tell my patients, I'm trying to manage their expectations. Like gas, okay. You know, one of the times that gas is actually really bad, honestly, is when you travel. Because when you travel, we all know that we leave our colon at home. And
Wait, we leave our colon at home?
We leave our colon at home when we travel. I just joke around because it's kind of like, it's always, your GI tract's always kind of a little messed up when you're traveling, whether it's dehydration, you know, and when you're holding on to stool, you can have increased gas or smelly gas and that kind of thing, like mild constipation. So you could, the patient, he had asked about Beano and stuff. You could try that to see if it has it. And but my recommendation was try to eat very similar every day, and your high fiber, so that your body gets used to it, and it should, your gas should come down as the microbes sort of adapt to what you're eating.
Yeah. Well, you know, Lisa's saying if you eat beans every day, you'll get used to it. I've never found that to be true for me and many, many people. I think people's microbiomes are different. And Beano, by the way, I think it used to not be vegan, but I think it is now. And they're saying that they think that there is another alternative to Beano that Dr. Cramp mentioned, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I think like simethicone might be the active ingredient potentially. Yeah, so that might be what they're thinking about, simethicone.
Right. And I guess they vary in their digestibility with some people. I heard that, for example, lentils might be a little easier.
Yeah, so beans are a big topic. Yeah, you know, you've heard Dr. Clapper, or I hope I'm not misquoting him, where he was asked the question about gas with beans, and he's like, oh, well, for the gas with beans questions, my answer is enjoy it. And I guess what his point there was that beans have a property, they have a lot of resistant starch. And the concept is that they're hard to digest, and they make you feel full, really full. And they even produce a little bit more gas, and they're kind of an appetite suppressant. You get the second meal effect of the beans. And so you can always go more or less. If they're causing you problems, eat less, or do things like eat lentils, which are supposed to be a little bit more digestible.
Yep, that's what I hear. Okay, here's a question from Joyce, who's watching live. Is there any cure for hypothyroidism? I have to take levothyroxine 125 ongoing, and that seems to be the one medication that I can't stop no matter what my diet or exercise.
Great, great. Well, make sure you're getting the 150 micrograms of iodine. And one of the things, with thyroid, it's one of the most commonly prescribed medications, levothyroxine, and up to 40% of patients are actually inappropriately started on thyroid medicine. So it is sort of an area where a doctor can come in and help and work with you to try to come off the thyroid. The problem is it can be an emotional event if you actually require the thyroid hormone, because if you stop it and your body doesn't kick back in and produce thyroid, you can go really low and get depressed and constipated and low energy and cold. And so one of the things with my patients, if they've ever had a high thyroid stimulating hormone over 10, a TSH over 10, I generally don't recommend trying to come off the thyroid medicine. What happens typically, and why 40% of people are inappropriately started, is their TSH might have been mildly elevated, like 5 or 6. And at this point, the doctor is supposed to ask the patient, would you like to be placed on thyroid hormone? Would you like to have help losing weight? Would you like more energy? Would you like to not be constipated? Would you like to feel decrease your depression? And the answer to those questions is always yes, yes, yes. So people will give it a try. They'll try the thyroid medicine, but then you're taking this medicine for basically your whole life, and you're getting labs, and it's a real pain. So I would say, to answer the question, that if you've ever had a thyroid stimulating hormone over 10, I would make sure you hold on to your thyroid medicine and don't be caught on a desert island without it. But if it was under 10, you might want to do a trial coming off your thyroid medicine with a close work with your doctor and get a quick turnaround retest at 1 month to see if the thyroid is kicking back in. And if it is, then you're done with the thyroid medicine once and for all.
Yeah, I know that people have gone to True North and water fasted, but I think it depends how long they've been on the medication. Is that correct?
Right. Well, one of the things is, if the body makes the antibodies to the thyroid, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, over the years, if it's basically burned out, if it's not going to respond, then you have to take the thyroid, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's not the biggest sin in the world. It's one of those medications that you're not even, like a lot of medications, like especially psychotropic medications, if you're trying to change insurance, they won't accept you, but they consider it not a big deal. Insurance company.
It's pretty common. It's pretty common. So
I think, isn't it something like one of the most prescribed medications, thyroid medicine, and it's very affordable. Right. Compared to a lot of drugs. So, I mean, I'm not like trying to sell people on the idea, but it's just that vegans, Dr. Goldhammer used to say, why do vegans get headaches from wearing their halos too tight? And there's to be a lot of vegans that think like, I'm on thyroid medicine and I've been vegan 45 years. Am I going to beat myself up? Is it because I did something wrong? Or is it, you know what I'm saying? So there is a time and a place for medication, I believe, but people, to each his own is what I'm saying. But people, diet cannot cure everything.
I do have a comment about that. Sometimes you need a doctor. It's, ideally with a healthy lifestyle, we can avoid it a bunch. And I always joke around, like, if I get sick, I get all mad, like, I'm on the vegan diet, but sometimes we get sick and sometimes we have, a problem and we need an expert, an advocate. And so, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that the perception is that other people are going to say, whatever it is, whether it's a common cold, the sniffles, or even if you were in a car accident, they're going to say it's because you're vegan. So,
yeah, right.
Ooh, I got a super chat. Thank you so much. From Vladimir. Dr. Harrington, we live in Colorado. Are you planning on being licensed in Colorado?
I am licensed in Colorado.
Then good for you. You can see him. That's
you want me to show the map real quick?
How can you memorize all 30? You're 30 states, right?
Yes. 29 at the moment. Yeah, I can show the map real quick.
Sure, we'd love to know what states, a little geography, and then if everybody can guess the state capital, they get a free. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it popping up?
Not yet. Oh, let me make sure the screen share. No, screen share is enabled. It's not popping up yet.
All right. Oh, I don't know what's happening here. Is it popping up now?
No, it's not. But you know what? It is in the show notes. So it's right
Mhm.
below the video if people want to.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Colorado, all out west. There's North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas where those have expired. But most, west of the Mississippi and Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, those southeast kind of area.
Are you licensed for California?
Absolutely.
Good. Nice. That'd be great. I mean, I'd see you, but I've been seeing the same virtual doctor at True North since 2010 now, Dr. Peter Sultana. I'm a big fan of virtual medicine. You don't have to wear pants and, it's great. I love it. All right. Here's a question from Amanda. I don't know what the organic acid test is, but she's asking if it's science-based.
I'm not sure what this is. Organic acid test.
Yeah. Maybe you could put a link, Amanda, and then I'll read to him what it's about. In the meantime, Laura, who's been a guest on the show twice, Laura Armitage says, "Thank you for being the best doctor I've ever had."
Oh, thanks, Laura. You're super sweet. You're super sweet. You're welcome.
Yep. And Linda wants to know, do you drink coffee?
Oh, this is sad. This is sad. It is my last bastion of my healthy behaviors.
You gotta have something that's not perfect about you.
I know. I've struggled with coffee. I've come off it at times, but then the call of coffee, and it really is an addictive substance. And so if I find myself struggling with insomnia and stuff, it kind of pushes me into, oh my gosh, I got to stop coffee. By the way, if you struggle with insomnia, simply stop coffee and you will sleep like a baby or whatever.
Or bladder stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, bladder, it can irritate your bladder for sure.
Really?
But I really think that coffee is not good. Like people like to hear good things about their bad habits. And so people say, well, there's antioxidants and, but really, I think it's probably bad, especially if it affects your sleep. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you don't already drink it, don't start, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, Rick says, Dr. Harrington is my doc too. The best. You got a lot of fans. I'm so glad you have a show. And Anki's saying there's evidence a cup of coffee is it's good for you. And this is the thing. And you know what? I need to get on. I cannot think of the name of this doctor. He's well known, but he's the guy that he doesn't do the research. He looks at the research and explains how research is done. And there's lots of evidence saying it's good, just like there's lots of evidence saying it's bad. And the thing is we had Dr. Peter Rogers on the show and people were blasting him because he was presenting research that was anti-soy and flax. Now in the plant-based world, most of the doctors are for these. And so they were attacking him and attacking me for having him on when, there's a whole bunch of research, pros and cons for just about everything. So
yeah, I would like to give a shout out to him. He's really impressive. He brings a lot to the table, and I love watching him. He's great.
I mean, he spends so much time to do these 2.5-hour presentations, and I felt so bad for him. And I hope he'll come back because people were so mean to him. And he wasn't saying you must do this and I'm right. He's saying this is what I looked at and this is what I would do. But anyway, the thing is people want to look at the research that supports their view, of course.
Right. It can be, it can kind of be a little earth shattering, you hear stuff, but that's, we've got a lot of evidence out there and you can do your own research, go on Google Scholar, type in anything and you can learn about it right away. And so, yeah, I really enjoy his talks. And oh my gosh, I really enjoy Dr. Doug Lyle's talks. I mean, gosh, does that guy have an answer for everything? I'm really I got to make up some kind of weird question and send it in, see if he can see.
Hey, listen, I'll move you. If you have a question for Dr. Lyle, I'll move you to the top of the queue. And we have so many questions from him. We're still answering ones from October because he takes a lot of time. Joy is asking, will North Dakota ever be licensed by you?
I just stopped my North Dakota license in December because we didn't have any patients from North Dakota. I had it for several years and I'm so sorry. It wasn't a critical mass for sure. There was 0 patients.
I'm curious, which patients do you see the most patients in? I mean, which state do you see the most patients from?
Definitely Florida. And that's, I put it out there about the telemedicine, but it's always about word of mouth. And so, I'm here in Florida and patients want to know they can see you in person, and that's kind of like a holdover. But it's not always going to be that way. And I still like having the ability to have a presence throughout much of the states. So it's, I like it. People sometimes, there'll be a natural disaster and stuff like that in one state, and people will go, doc, I lost my medicines. Can you help me out? Boom, boom. It's really nice to have that coverage all over lots of the states.
That's fantastic. So somebody named Cash with the same last name as you, coincidentally, I don't know if that's a relative, is asking who your biggest vegan inspiration is, and does a vegan diet impact you if you're a competitive athlete?
Okay, all right, right. Well, I happen to know that. I don't know if that is my son or if it's it's one of my family members using his phone, but thank you for that question. And well, there's big inspirations like Nimai Delgado, and I work with lots of vegan bodybuilders and this kind of thing. And people talk about feeling healing up faster from their workouts. Having a non-inflammatory, high antioxidant rich diet helps you basically recover faster, decrease delayed muscle soreness and that kind of thing. Also, there's the idea of the nitric oxide. If you remember, if you ever used to go into GNC in the 90s and 2000s, it was always NO explode, nitric oxide. It was all about, this, getting your veins to dilate and arteries to dilate. And so, but you can do this naturally with high nitrate vegetables like arugula and beet juice. And this is something that is actually helps. It actually increases VO2 max, improves your running times and healing times. And unfortunately, it goes down as we age. And this is the importance of improving the amount of nitrates that you eat. What you'll hear, and someone has been on your show that talked about this, was avoiding antibacterial mouthwashes to avoid.
Yes. Oh, the guy, Nathan Bryan. Oh gosh.
Yes, I think, I'm so sorry, I'm not getting the name right, but that is always something that people think it's a conspiracy theory when you mention that. And I thought that was kind of one of the strangest things about this kind of vegan diet thing is, oh, no mouthwash,
That's interesting. I will look up his name. I've done over 1,300 shows, so sometimes I cannot always quickly remember the guest's name. But the second part of the question is, who is your biggest vegan inspiration?
Gosh, I mean, all of the vegan, I call them vegan royalty. Folks like you, folks like Dr. Greger and Dr. McDougall and Dr. Barnard and Dr. Furman. These folks are just so inspirational. Been doing it for so long. I mean, I don't know how Dr. Greger does it, how he produces so much content, so much evidence-based content. But if I was going to pick one person, it might be Dr. Greger, just because I'm a physician and I love his research-based, evidence-based approach, and he's had a great effect on my life.
Dr. Nathan Bryan is the one. Functional nitric oxide. So there you go. Good memory. Here's a question.
Of course, Dr. Esselstyn and Dr. Campbell and Rip Esselstyn, those folks, Dr. Lyle. I mean, can you really say just one where that's too hard?
Nope, it is on their shoulders we stand. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a question: is there any help for a lipoprotein A issue, a hereditary problem resulting in high cholesterol?
Lipoprotein A is another kind of cholesterol. It's a lipid, and it is becoming more popular about testing. And what it helps to kind of understand whether you have a genetic component. People who've had heart attacks, even though their cholesterol was low, they actually had high lipoprotein A. Unfortunately, lipoprotein A doesn't respond very well to the standard treatments like the other, like LDL and triglycerides. We have specific medicines for that. Even things like the new space age medicines, Repatha, the injectable the PCSK9 inhibitors, these special injectable medicines that can really get your cholesterol down rock bottom. It doesn't have dramatic response on lipoprotein A like it does on the other lipids. However, that what you do is you try to get your other lipids down to rock bottom levels. And it's kind of like, at school, if you're bad at math, you still have to do math, like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't stop your cholesterol journey just because you have lipoprotein A. It should give you additional reason to be good about lowering the fat and raising the fiber. So the fat and fiber factor play a huge role in the way vegans have high cholesterol. Saturated fat makes it harder for the body to reabsorb cholesterol into the liver, and having high fiber helps your body flush cholesterol out through the GI tract.
Yeah, fiber is great. Where do people that are on these other diets get their fiber, like paleo or carnivore? How are they pooping?
I know. Oh my gosh. It sounds miserable. It causes a lot of GI distress, when you're not having a pretty rapid GI transit, the IBS symptoms and stuff like that.
Let's see. There's other questions. Make sure you get on the list so you can send them in advance. Oh, Patrice needs help for hot flashes.
Okay, hot flashes. Yes, this is, Dr. Barnard talks a lot about this, and Dr. Barnard has actually studied it with soy. And I know soy kind of has this kind of complicated history, but studies show that folks that eat more soy have lower hot flashes. And he talks about the dose of soy that you should eat. It's a half cup of actual adult soybeans. You cook them up in like the pressure cooker, and you can put them throughout in your meals. If you do this, it's going to be much higher than like eating a bunch of tofu and drinking a bunch of soy milk. And even edamame, you have to eat more edamame, the green younger soy, in order to get this effect. The isoflavones, 50 to 60 grams of isoflavones. So that is something that Dr. Barnard had proven, that soy helps with hot flashes. The other thing that helps is a low-fat diet and low body fat. So with body fat, extra body fat, you tend to have higher estrogen levels. And the hot flashes relate to the drop of estrogen that you start with premenopausal, and then you have postmenopausal. The higher the initial estrogen, and the drop, the bigger change in estrogen causes the symptoms. So people that tend to go into menopause kind of lean tend to have a lower drop in estrogen, and therefore less symptoms. So continue to lose weight, continue to eat a low-fat diet, high-fiber diet, and include some soy. It can help out a lot.
Nice. You mentioned in your bio you're a reservist for the armed forces. How often do you have to go serve?
Well, I'm in a lucky position where I can kind of batch up my service. Typically, it's 1 week in a month. The weekend warrior, they call it. So I'm in a lucky position where I work in a lab, and I help move along research studies and stuff. So it's really cool. I'm super lucky to be still a part of the Army and the Army Medical Corps. As a reservist, you can kind of get the best of both worlds. I get to have my own solo practice, and then I also get to serve.
When you were in the Army, were you a doctor when you were serving in Afghanistan? Is that what you were doing there?
Yes. The Army trained me. I went to West Point, and then they sent me to medical school, Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, and then family practice residency. And so, I got to serve, been to Afghanistan twice. One time was 15 months, one time was 12 months, and work closely with soldiers and with Afghan people. We when we were over there, a lot of times we would help Afghan patients who were injured or had, diseases that we could treat, that we could readily treat. So it was life-changing, and it was a really good experience.
Yeah. Did you I don't think you were vegan then, but did they have any vegan food or MREs?
Well, they have some vegetarian ones that include cheese. And so it is kind of hard with the meals ready to eat. You have to eat some of the side dishes. There might be some vegan ones now, but when I was lucky, because most places there was at least a helicopter pad where they could drop off food and fresh fruits and vegetables. And the Army's actually really good about providing lots of fresh fruits and vegetables because, I mean, they follow FDA, nutritional guidelines, which includes servings of fresh fruits and vegetables. So they, part of the logistician's job is to make sure that no matter where you are in the world, they're going to be flying the fresh fruits and vegetables over to you. So it's really impressive. I got to hand it to them. So if you are vegan and you are in the military, you definitely should be able to do it. It is hard. Like, let's say you're someone who's on an outpost in the middle, on a road somewhere in the middle of nowhere in a foxhole. It can be tough where you have to eat the side dishes and things, but it is actually still doable.
I've had a Sergeant Vegan on several times, and he's talked about what he's done to maintain a vegan diet when he's been doing his service. Here's an interesting question from Tracy. Would you fire a patient if they refuse to be whole food plant-based? Would anybody come to you though if they weren't interested in veganism?
Well, believe it or not, I have through the insurances, sometimes people will come to me and they're not vegan. And I just let them know right up front that, hey, I'm vegan, but I'm the guy as your primary care doctor. You don't want your primary care doctor to be like, to punch you in the face as soon as you get there. You want to try to get to know someone. You want to work with them, find out where they are and meet them where they are, and to try to help them one step at a, always nudging them to a healthier lifestyle. So, it's I don't like it. I don't like it when I hear that people are eating, not eating a plant-based diet, but I mean, most of the world doesn't eat a plant-based diet. And I take it upon myself to try to constantly help people learn about the benefits and help them out. No, I don't fire them. In general, I'm not firing my patients. I joke around, I always joke around, you're the queen and I'm the queen's advisor. Or, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be the Yoda. I'm trying to be the helper, the advocate, as opposed to back in the day, the paternalism. You do as I say because I'm smart and I went to medical school. You help people along where they're at.
Yeah. Somebody's asking if soy has a high sodium content. I don't believe so. Maybe soy sauce, but not soy. Like tofu.
Right. Yeah. Soy sauce. Yeah. Super high, but not soy itself, I don't think.
Yeah. What do you eat after your cup of coffee? Of course. And after, I'm sure you're engaging in some type of meaningful exercise.
Yes. I need to up my game on my exercise. I'm not like a marathon runner or anything like that. So that is, my vegan journey needs to include exercise more. In the Army, of course, I have to run and do a physical test. They make me exercise, and so obviously I do more then. But I have been really good with my diet. My diet and my body shape is good, and it's helped me. And basically, what I eat is I eat oatmeal for breakfast with fruit on the side, a lot of berries. I have flax in my in a little bit of flax in my oatmeal. Sometimes I'll have a date or something to sweeten it up, and I try to eat a salad. I try to have a green routine. I'm trying to, I oftentimes, if I haven't eaten my greens for the day, sometimes I'll go in the fridge and I'll just like reach into the arugula and just eat it, almost like a medicine, because I know about the nitrates and the nitric oxide. So for lunch, I try to have a salad or like a stir fry type vegetables with a side of beans. And then for dinner, it's various, it's with the family. It's what Jennifer, my wife, might be, cooking that night. But it's always a vegan dish, and it's, it's kind of high carb, low fat type of diet. We try to be salt, oil, sugar free, that kind of thing. And then for dessert,
don't you agree salt's the hardest of all three?
Oh, I've got a saying about salt. I call it salt is a drug like food. It makes you eat. It makes you have
it makes everything taste better. That's the problem. Makes you eat more. An appetite stimulant. I find it so hard because it's so hard unless you buy online to get things like condiments without them, or restaurant food without it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It can make you eat like in a frenzy. where, like one chip, and before you know it, the other chip is right in your mouth. You haven't even thought about it. And
Yeah, I mean, think of things like French fries. If they didn't salt them, people wouldn't, if they just fried them in fat in McDonald's without the sugar and salt, I don't think people would eat them the same way.
no, not as much at all. I have a little saying that when you're eating under the influence of salt.
Yeah, that's why Dr. McDougall says no salt, no sale.
Yeah, EUI, eating under the influence. You have to stop, drop, and roll. You're on fire. You have to stop, drop, and roll. You have to stop, drop the Pringles or whatever you're eating and roll out of there. And you have to reflect. Oh my gosh, I was eating under the influence of salt.
Yeah. So are you familiar with something called the portfolio diet? Because in the chat, people are discussing whether or not it's good. I don't know what it is. So.
Yes. So when you're trying to, they've determined that certain things from your diet, resistant starch, beans, eating foods with the sticky starches like okra and eggplant and everything will cling to the bile salts and help you basically pass along, flush out the cholesterol. So what the portfolio diet is, it was developed in Toronto. I'm so sorry. I feel horrible. I'm not remembering the gentleman's name, but they studied each one of these different plant types and whole grains and beans, and they found that they all had an effect. So what they did was they put it together in a portfolio of diet and suggested, I believe it's 1 serving of whole grains or oats in particular, 2 servings of beans, and they used plant sterols as a supplement. Believe it or not, they put it in margarine.
What are plant sterols exactly?
Plant sterols are cholesterol-like substances that compete for binding to compete for absorption of cholesterol, and ones that are absorbed basically make it harder for your body to deal with cholesterol. So it basically lowers your cholesterol, plant sterols. So they put it in margarine and had people add this to their diet. So plant sterols are something that you'll hear about as a supplement for added to the portfolio diet. And it's 2 grams a day, so 500 milligrams twice in the morning and twice in the afternoon. There's things like Cholestoff or Blue Bonnet brand sterols, plant sterols, and they lower it. The problem is the question is how much they lower it, maybe 5-10 points. And if you're already on a diet that's high in all these other portfolio aspects of the diet, how much benefit you're going to get. And so I've had a variable benefit. Some people will take the plant sterols and it really worked. And in some patients, it didn't seem to have such an effect. So that's why we test. That's why we try something. I don't want my patients taking some kind of supplement forever and ever without testing to see if it actually works, because I don't want them to spend the money or be exposed to something they don't have to be.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book, The Pleasure Trap by Lyle and Goldhammer?
I love The Pleasure Trap, and I don't know if I've read it cover to cover, but I've definitely referenced it a lot. I think this is an amazing book and it's an amazing concept.
Well, you could listen to the audio because there's a very famous voice actor doing the book. But the reason I bring it up is because they have a chapter called Looking for Health in All the Wrong Places. And they make a case that pretty much all disease isn't caused because we didn't take something, but because we did. So people are always looking to supplement. I'm not saying flax and soy are bad, but people are looking for health in all the wrong places when most disease is caused by not having something, but by something. Am I saying this correctly? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Absolutely. We live in.
It's not deficiencies. It's not deficiencies that are causing diseases. People didn't die because they didn't eat beans or nuts. It was because of all the excesses. That's it.
Absolutely. No, this makes total sense. I mean, we live in the land of plenty, and we're eating all the time. It's excess. We have problems with excess, not the problems with deficiency. And so, but when people go on the vegan diet, they're always worried about deficiency. And so I spend most of my time trying to sort of dispel that kind of myth. And some people want to see it through the labs. Sometimes I'll tell people to use the chronometer, the food log, and have themselves prove it to themselves. Like, hey, check to see what vitamins and minerals that you're consuming using this free app. I love it. I think it's a great app, but food logging is tough. Food logging is very tough and time consuming. So I usually try to have people buckle down and do it like 1 or 2 days and just kind of get their average from the short time.
There's a question if niacin helps lower cholesterol. I hear it's controversial.
It is controversial, and I'm kicking myself because I can't remember the exact side effect or the reason why. I think it might be mortality concerns where it didn't have the same mortality benefit that they thought it would, but it was one of the sort of standard go-to medications in the past. But it is, I think the nail is in the coffin of niacin. But I am just right off the top of my head, I'm forgetting the exact reason. But there were some worse outcomes in certain aspects on the niacin groups in some of the studies, and so that's why it's not first line for sure.
Vicky's saying there are some people get rashes from niacin.
Well, the tolerability is a main problem. And so it stops people. Then they have these extended versions or, ones that are kind of laced with aspirin and stuff like this to try to avoid the slow niacin and extended release and stuff like this. But in the end, it's not what it's cracked up to be, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wendy says, when I tell people I'm vegan, they often tell me they tried to go vegan, but they became anemic after a few days. Is that even possible to become anemic after a few days? How long would it take a diet change to cause anemia? And is a diet change really the reason for anemia? I got some problems with those people saying that.
Yeah, no way. No, I mean, you have to have frank blood loss. You have to have blood loss for it to drop your hemoglobin and hematocrit. So that's something that they follow in the hospital when people are having active GI bleeds where, they have an ulcer or something and, you're monitoring it. But for it to happen with a diet, it would take weeks and weeks. Blood cells live 90 days. So, if you change your diet dramatically or something, you could maybe recheck in 90 days, but, there's overestimation of how much iron we need and the heme iron and all this stuff. And you get plenty of iron from a plant-based diet. And you obviously people are trying to get high iron. They worry that this is a fatigue issue, and that's usually not the case.
Great. Well, you are just a plethora of information. And I look forward to having you over the next several months for more vegan doc talk. And guys, get those questions in. Just register at chefaj.com. On Sunday, we send you the list and you respond. And there's 30 states that you can see Dr. Harrington. Or just go. My understanding is they don't have to live in the state. They just have to be in the state when they have the consult. Is that correct?
That's true. Yeah, that's how it is right now. So if you're traveling in one of those states, you could see me. I want to follow the laws. I don't want to, so what I worry about if a patient's lives in South Dakota and they're saying they're in another state or, I don't want to try to push limits. I want to try to follow the letter of the law because, you do worry about that. If I ever were there to be a problem in one state, I'd have to tell all the other states and I'd lose all my licenses. So please, if you are going to see me, make sure you're in the state that I'm licensed in.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Harrington.
Chef AJ, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yep. And thank you for your service too. Meaning
you're welcome.
Being in the reserves, not just your service as a vegan doctor. I meant, like in the armed forces is what I meant. So.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm the lucky one.
I missed this question from Susanna. Can you work with people in other countries other than the United States?
Yes. Now, I wouldn't be able to, it's unlikely that I would be able to prescribe medications in another country, but in some countries, you just go to the pharmacy and tell them what you want and you get it. But I definitely accept consults from other countries. I've talked to people in England and in Australia and that kind of thing. People have reached out to me from Africa, but it never worked out.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for the services you provide.
Once again, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here.
And we'll see you next month. And I hope to see all of you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time when my guest is Jean-Pierre, who's going to show you that this year, 2023, in January, can be the last time you ever have to lose weight. So please come back at 9 tomorrow. And then at 11, we have a second show with Clint Pattison from Australia. It's called the Arthritis Recovery Hour. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. And